Good evening, good afternoon, or good morning, wherever you may be around the world. Welcome to the information session for the Postgraduate Certificate in Backend and Blockchain Development at York University School of Continuing Studies. My name is Sean Woodhead, and I'm the Program Manager of Blockchain Development. The structure for this information session is based on what may be some of the most pressing questions you have engaging whether this is a program that you would like to complete. So what I've done is I've laid out the session to first describe what does the blockchain development labor market look like in Toronto and perhaps more broadly in Canada, and then followed by what your trajectory into the labor market would look like. Then I would like to change gears a little bit by explaining why we thought it was a good idea to develop this program at York and a few things that we've learned along the way. And then from there, I'll go deeper into a description of the program. And then, as I also mentioned, you may have questions. You can put those into the chat box. I'll try and get to those at the end of the session. And if I'm unable to, then I'll send out the written responses next week. Oh, and also we are ending with just a brief description around what the cost is and when you can enroll. And a quick note about me. I came to the School of Continuing Studies in 2017. My entire career has been spent in the Ontario College and University sectors. I bring to this program what I believe to be ample experience in program management. Education-wise, I did my Master's of Education at University of Toronto, and I'm currently completing my PhD in Education at York University. Also, I'm an academic liaison to the North American Blockchain Olympiad, as well as the Vice President of the Ontario Council for University Lifelong Learning. I'm a strong believer that professional programs such as this postgraduate certificate in backend and blockchain development must have a curriculum that is tied to the career-related goals of its students. And also, I'll go deeper into what that career-related curriculum looks like later in this information session. Aside from that, I am a Toronto resident and moved here just over 12 years ago, which does segue nicely into a quick discussion about Toronto. This city is a hub of activity with lots of opportunities to work, to explore, to have fun. And if you join our program, this or one of the neighboring cities would be very likely where you would end up coming to if then like you're living in Toronto, you're working as a software developer. As for myself, I haven't lived in Toronto my whole life. As I mentioned, I've lived here for 12 years. I came from a much smaller city in Ontario that had just over 50,000 people. After moving to Toronto, I'm very hard pressed to want to live anywhere else. And before I describe the labor market and what it looks like in Toronto, I figured it may be helpful to just briefly describe what makes this city so special. Toronto is Canada's largest city with a population of over 6 million citizens. And on top of us being the largest city in Canada, The Economist magazine ranks Toronto as the #1 global city to live in the world, followed second by another Canadian city, which is Montreal, just in the province next door of us, in the province of Quebec. Toronto is also an incredibly diverse city to live in. There's over 200 languages that are spoken in this city. 45% of residents of Toronto have a mother tongue that is not English or French. And as you may know, English and French are Canada's 2 official languages. So while Cantonese, Spanish, and Italian are the most widely spoken non-English or French languages in Toronto, it's noteworthy that Punjabi, Urdu, and Tamil are each languages that have over 100,000 speakers in Toronto. And then lastly, Toronto is also incredibly safe. We are the #1 safest North American city and the #6 safest city in the world, according to the Safe Cities Index. Lots of fun things to do in the city too. I'm now going to try and paint a picture for you of what this city is like as a place for tech work. So CBRE has reported that Toronto is the fastest growing tech community in the world and #3 in North America. And with being a growing tech hub comes a need for a wide variety of technical roles, including software developers and blockchain developers. So exactly how many developers are in Canada? Well, while I could not find the total number of developers that are in Canada and specifically in Toronto, I do have data for you on the number of new job postings in the last 12 months. And I was really encouraged when I updated this data this week in preparation for today's event. So in the last year, there have been 15,478 new job postings with an average salary of around $87,000. This is literally a doubling of the numbers that we saw around the same time last year. And so employers are looking for developers. How do you enter the labor market? How do you become a developer? At a high level, entry into this labor market is very straightforward. Many of you in this session today have completed or soon will be completing a baccalaureate degree in some sort of tech degree. When I'm reviewing applications for this program, I see a lot of applicants who are bringing a comp sci degree, an engineering degree, maybe in some other type of tech degree. And by coming into this program then, and with a prior education like that, then you're coming into the program with more specialized training or you're coming into the program in order to complete more specialized training in development work. This program is graduate level and one that was designed in collaboration with a program advisory council of industry leaders and hiring managers in the blockchain space. Throughout the program, you are building a portfolio of projects that demonstrate what you can do. This is not a program of sitting and listening to lecture upon lecture upon lecture. So you go through the program, you're continuing to add to a portfolio of work through a series of different projects that you're working on. And then at the end of the program, you end up working on a blockchain project, and I'm going to get into more details about what that big project looks like. I'm going to get to those details in just a few minutes. So from there, then you may choose to apply for a postgraduate work permit, and then you begin working in Canada. My advice would be that when you're looking for that first job in Canada, that even though, of course, you'll want to find a blockchain developer role, I would strongly advise that you also look for software developer roles. And the reason for this, of course, is because there are tons of software developer roles, as I just described a minute ago. And for blockchain development roles, like blockchain development is still very much in early adoption, okay? And if you choose to, if you choose to work and you're looking for these types of jobs, as I had already mentioned, like these jobs pay very well. And with an average salary of $87,000, and as I've already mentioned as well, with over 15,000 new job postings in the last 12 months. And what I also looked at when I grabbed this number, I was looking at like year over year over year over year, Is there growth? Is it declining? Is it just stable? Because even though there was a doubling in the last year, I wasn't sure going further back what it looks like. So there has been continued and sustained growth year over year, and that should be very encouraging to each of you. So why would we build this program? Well, if you look across other programs, you may notice that uh, that we have a lot of programs that sit at the forefront of tech. With our programs, we do aim to address areas of high skills demand. Early in our process of development, we engage with several industry leaders and hiring managers to get a sense of what they are looking for in a graduate. And this is a crucial step for us in ensuring that the program graduates a student with the proper skill set to succeed and to thrive in the future of work. And so part of this means producing what I'd like to call a top of the T graduate. And what I mean by a top of the T graduate is one who has a lot of depth, so that would be the middle part of the T, but then also they're well-rounded, or at the top of that T, there's a breadth of cross-functional skills. And this is really important because when I'm speaking with hiring managers, I often hear from them that when they're bringing someone on board, that person has the tech skills that they were expecting, but they don't have all these other really important skills like active listening, empathy, the ability, persuasion, negotiation, and the like. So, um, so I just want to highlight how important it is for this program that we are not just graduating a software developer or a blockchain developer, but that we're graduating a software or a blockchain developer that will thrive in a business environment. So there's also a series of features that I want to highlight about this program before I dive in a little bit more deeply. And um, this is not an exhaustive list, but I thought that these were some of the more remarkable features to mention to each of you for today. Um, so up at the top in red, what I've put here is that, um, and this is actually quite novel for a program such as ours, that you're getting paired up with a business to work on a blockchain related problem, or to work on a business problem that requires a blockchain related solution. Or you are also able to work on your own independent project, and we do have a way for you to also work on your own startup venture if that's what you're interested in instead, because we're mindful that not everybody who's coming into this program wants to work for an employer. There may be some who want to start their own business. And it's important for the program and for the university at large to be supportive of those differing career-related goals. So online delivery for this program will be at least from September to December, and that's because of the current state of the world and with the pandemic still very much there. And then there may be an opportunity for on-campus delivery from January to May. That's yet to be seen. I think it's very important that I mention to each of you that last year, the program was run entirely online. And I think we were in a different headspace last year where in advance of September of 2020, there was still a lot of unknowns, both from instructors and students about what does online learning look like? Will it be as good as what on-campus learning was like? And I was really happy to see that instructors rose to the challenge, and they came up with lots of interesting ways to achieve a similar level of engagement and interaction in the online learning environment in the Zoom classroom. And it does take more work for the instructors, but I believe that we succeeded in the end. And what students had specifically cited is what they liked more about the learning in a Zoom classroom instead of in the on-campus classroom was most especially when doing the coding labs, because they found it so much easier to follow along through the coding lab because the instructor's screen is right in front of you as you're doing your own coding. So that was one thing that was really good. And then and there's still ways in Zoom to also break out students into their own groups, and also using the polling feature. So there was one instructor in particular who's championed for some of the other instructors the importance of doing check-ins at the beginning of each class where students are responding anonymously to a poll about things that they're finding going well, and things that they're struggling with. So there's a lot of great things that online learning through Zoom offers that you might not be able to get in, or would be more difficult to achieve in a brick and mortar classroom. But again, so it's online delivery for the fall, and we're not sure yet if it's going to be on-campus delivery from January to May. And it is important to note, though, that the federal government has confirmed that these online classes are approved, and it shouldn't say will be approved, that they are approved and accepted for the purposes of the postgraduate work permit. Okay. And then also some other features. So we do believe strongly in supporting our students through having them attend networking events wherever possible. And that does look a little bit different right now. But we do believe strongly that our students, in order for them to be successful and to enter the labor market, they need to build up a professional network. And also, maybe one other thing that I should mention is that there are some different programs that may offer career services, and this program also does the same. So last year, I had offered to every student the opportunity to meet with me as often as needed to go over things like resume building, interview preparation. I had two students who took me up on that. One student I only met with, I believe, twice. And then there was another student I met with them, I believe, 6 or 7 times. Yeah, 6 or 7 times. So also, just figured, I'm not going to read through the bullet points here, but there are some notable tools and applications that we use in this program. Okay. And these are very common, and we selected these based on when we're looking at what employers are expecting in Toronto and other parts of Canada, and based on the advisement of the Program Advisory Council, as well as our instructors, who each are working in the blockchain space as well. That informs what tools we use. Okay. And then here's a curriculum overview. And again, I'm not going to read through all of this, but what you will notice as you're reading through, and there's more slides after this, so these are the first 4 courses, but what you will see is that we're gradually building up more and more into specialized blockchain. Okay. I'll give you another 30, maybe 15 seconds or so to read this. We're going to go to the next 4 courses after that. Okay, I'm going to move along in just 5 seconds. Okay. And here are the next 4. 5 seconds. And then we're going to go to, after this, I'll be going through what is the final course. Okay. And it's the capstone course. So I want to highlight the importance of our inclusion of this capstone course and the fact that we find the projects for you. And at least most, if not all, of similar programs in North America, they, at least from what I've seen, they do not connect you with those projects, and the students would typically be left to their own devices to find their own projects. And when we were considering for this program which way to go, we did decide to take the onus on ourselves as a university to find the projects for you. We believed that as a university and with instructors who are already working in the blockchain space, some of whom are actually fairly well-known leaders in different elements of the blockchain, we thought that we would be in a much better position to broker those projects than any individual student might be, and especially if they're new to Canada. So the capstone, how this works is that the capstone instructor and myself, we begin searching for these projects in the late fall, so in November or early December. And then and it can be a little bit of a tough go because there's all sorts of businesses who say, oh yes, we have a blockchain project, but then when we look more deeply, it looks like a blockchain project that they've assembled together just so they could say that they were working on a blockchain project, but that it's not an appropriate use case. And you will also be learning through this program what appropriate and inappropriate uses of blockchain are in the business environment. But where we end up is in April, we'll have our finalized set of blockchain projects. And then the way that you get paired up with those projects is in a few weeks before the start of the capstone course, you will be asked to rank your preferences from most to least preferred on each of the blockchain projects that we've secured, okay? And then once you've ranked your preferences on each of those projects, then what we do is we try to match students to the projects based, one, on their preferences, of course, it's why you're ranking your preferences, and then second, on your academic performance. We want to make sure that each student is successful with that capstone project, and so we just want to make sure that it's interest and ability that we're matching you to. And we believe that the capstone projects are very important for you to have because you'll have that portfolio of work that you've been building through the program. And it's the capstone project that offers you some real world experience that we would expect that our students are leveraging when they're in an interview for a job. And I've put up on the screen here the projects that students had received in the previous year. And I'll just let you, I'll give you a minute to read that before we continue, okay? Okay, and I'll give you another 10 seconds or so. And one thing, just to avoid any confusion, the title of this slide could have been a little bit better. By fall 2020, what I meant was the fall 2020 cohort, because that's when students came into the program. It was in fall 2020. Students actually did not work on these projects until May of 2021. Okay, 5 seconds or so, and then I'm gonna move along. All right. Okay, here we go. So here's our wonderful instructional team, and I mean, there's so many instructors here that I'm not going to read through each of their bios. What I will encourage you to do, if you have not already done so, is to go to our website, and at the bottom of the website, you'll see an accordion. In that accordion, there's a tab for instructors, and you'll see each of the instructors listed there, and then there's a short bio for each of them, so you can go check it out. What I will say generally is that across this instructional team, there's obviously a lot of valuable experience, and we have instructors who are working for startups, and one of them is working for Amazon. We have CEOs and CTOs of their own companies, and across a series of sectors. And I'll say that what I've noticed, at least in Toronto, is that right now, a lot of the blockchain work, and even represented on this team, is predominantly in fintech and decentralized finance. Right? All right, so now on to admission requirements for the program. So you will see here that there are only a few, and they are nonetheless important. Most applicants have applied in the past with either, and I mentioned this before, with either a computer science degree, an engineering degree, Bachelor of Technology, or similar. And what I've also found is that we also get some really good applications from some individuals who might be coming through, say, applied math or through physics. And ultimately, if you believe that you have a relevant tech degree, and if you have the coding experience, plus an IELTS of 6.5 or equivalent, then you're good to go. And one thing I will mention too is that on an interim basis, so for this year, what I've done with regards to the English language proficiency requirement, I have been considering IELTS 6.5 and with no band score less than 6.0. So that is on an interim basis. I am not sure if it will continue to be like that or not. And what I will say is that the reason that we've put it at an IELTS 6.5 is because it is very important that students be able to effectively communicate with their project sponsors when they're working on that final capstone project. And also, if I'm trying to think about where, okay, so if there was any place in the program in the last year where we found that students might have, where students struggled a little bit with their English, it was in Victor Lee's course in CSBC 1020. And you may recall from those tables that I had shared earlier that provide the curriculum overview, in CSBC 1020, students are preparing their own business case. So when they're preparing their own business case, that's focused primarily on their writing skills. And there were some students that really struggled with that. And then again, to reiterate, the reason that we're looking for this level of English language proficiency, it's for the work with the capstone or with the project sponsors. And this is a program that's not just a technical program, but it's that top of the T, right? That we're expecting that our graduates will go out and they will thrive in a working environment. Okay, so in terms of the deadline, right now we have an unofficial deadline of September 9th 2021. The reason that I'm saying that this is unofficial is because typically our deadline's in mid-July. And last year, we had made an exception to that, and it was because of COVID-19. And this year, we were looking at going back to the standard deadline in mid-July. And I know I've been reflecting on this a lot. I believe some of my colleagues and some of the other programs that they've been doing the same. And even though from many accounts, it looks like we're approaching, or we're getting closer to the end, COVID-19 is still very much there, right? And especially in the spring, I believe that might have really, it was challenging some people's thoughts around whether or not to enroll. And I've noticed again through May and definitely through June, I've noticed an uptrend in applications. It looks like it looks like there's more people that have renewed faith in taking a program and the prospect of eventually coming to Canada. And it's for those reasons that I've decided that I'd like to move the deadline to September. I've notified the registration team that I will be moving the deadline. So what I would say though is that it's very important to get the application in sooner rather than later, and also to be compiling all the required documentation for your visa application. Okay. Now, so how much does the program cost? The cost to enroll is $29.95. And this is comparable in price to many of the one-year certificates offered in Ontario. And you have the added benefit of completing this program up to 4 months faster than some of the, or up to 4 months faster than comparable graduate certificates. And yeah. I've put up on the screen here some contact information. Now, there's no need to go to the School of Continuing Studies right now if you just so happen to be in Canada, because the office is closed. But we're very much alive and busy. It's just that we're each working remotely for now. So what I would say though is that if you have any questions about the program, you can reach out to Mike Kasiba, and I've put his name up on the slide here, as well as his email address, which is continue@yorku.ca, and then also we have the registration team at regscs@yorku.ca, and they can help you out if you're running into any sort of problems in applying to the program. Okay, so this concludes the information session for the postgraduate certificate in backend and blockchain development at York University. And just a reminder, the cost is $29.95 or $20,995, and we're still accepting applications for enrollment for fall 2021. And if you have not yet submitted a visa application and intend to do so, as you may already know, it can take several weeks to collect the documents. So you should get started on that as soon as possible if you have not already done so. And while the deadline to apply is still officially July 16th, again, I have already notified relevant colleagues that I'll be moving the deadline to September 9th. Okay, and then applications for enrollment will continue to be open as long as space permits. And if we do happen to sell out, it would only be at that time that we would be closing enrollment and producing a wait list. Again, if you have any questions that come to mind later, certainly reach out to Mike, or you can reach out to myself. And then if you're running into any issues or you have any questions regarding the application process, you can reach out to regses@yorku.ca. All right, so again, I know this is a very important decision for each of you, and I want you all to make the best decision for yourself in selecting a program that aligns with your career. And on behalf of the instructional team and all of us at York University, I want to say thank you for taking the time to listen to this information session, and I hope to welcome you to the program in September. Okay, bye for now.